Above him, a man from Rwanda sports the Amasunzu hairstyle. This was back in the year 1923. In 1941, someone came up with a pretty neat idea. It was a boat, but it wasn't just any boat. This one was made of clear lucite so you could see right through it. The design was all about what was happening below the seat. It was a rowboat, just like a classic, but with a fun, see-through twist. The restoration of a nose. This was done after it was lost due to syphilis back in the 1880s in New York City. Edith Wharton, around 1890, was captured looking so elegant. This is the first publicly sold bottle of Coca-Cola. It was released way back in 1894. It looks like we're back in Hawaii in 1882. Seems we're talking about King David Kalakaua, who was the last king of Hawaii. It's a charming scene. A Victorian couple out for a ride. They're on a tandem bicycle, you know, one of those old bikes built for two. This was probably sometime around the 1890s. It's a lovely image, really. Wow, check this out. It's the Nicholas brothers, and they're doing their incredible jump and jive routine. It looks like it's taking place in stormy weather. This was all the way back in 1943. It looks like someone is signing off. This was way back in 1934. A bride's heading to her wedding. It was a long time ago, back in 1911 in Fuzhou. In Kenya, back in 1962, you'd find two young boys engrossed in a shared lesson. They were trading knowledge, each teaching the other about their own cultural heritage. It's a snapshot of friendship and learning, passed down through generations. They say back then people used to play with skulls, can you imagine? It's the year 1960. Two figures are out on the water fishing. Seems like a perfect day for it. The year was 1935, and life was tough in the Texas Dust Bowl. A massive dust storm was brewing, getting ready to swallow everything whole. You could almost feel the wind picking up, the air thickening, and the world about to be turned upside down. It was a scary time. I am a man. The struggle for basic human rights and fair treatment was in full swing. It looks like it was a jolly scene. It must have been quite the day. Way back on the 18th of November, 1933, there was a Christmas party for the children, held at the Hoxton Mission in London. I bet they were all so excited. Kids on a camel farm are gathered around someone's camera, checking it out. This was in Phoenix, Arizona, back in 1942. On a soldier's helmet, someone had written, "War is hell." This must have been during the Vietnam War back in 1965. A bride, on a crisp November day in 1940, stepped out of her home. It had been recently bombed. She was leaving to get married. A barge is carefully maneuvering under the Michigan Avenue Bridge in Chicago. It looks like the year is 1953. It was 1951, and you know, there was this whole Miss culture back then. Seems like every town had a contest. Wondering if there was a Miss Car Wash, too. An Inuk man is showing a young boy how to use a bow and arrow. This must have been around the year 1920. Imagine stumbling upon an antique doll. It's a bit unsettling, actually. The doll has two faces, which is definitely odd. It gives you a real shiver down your spine. "17-year-old Vladimir Lenin, back in 1887. Back in 1920, there were two pals. During the First World War, American troops started using a brand new acoustic locator. This was sometime between 1914 and 1918. You won't believe this one. Imagine an elephant named Comet, right? Well, Comet, who was from the Chessington Zoo, decided to try a different kind of work. He spent the weekend, that's right, just the weekend, working as a waiter. And not just anywhere, but at the famous Trocadero restaurant in Piccadilly Circus in London. This was all happening around the year 1938. What a sight that must have been. It's easy to feel grateful, isn't it? Imagine a strongman named Lionel Strongfort, and what a name. This takes us back to the year 1900. It's a wild scene, these cyclists puffing away while they're racing. Must have been the 1927 Tour de France. Imagine trying to cycle all those miles while smoking a cigarette. Crazy. Back in 1974, Gucci purses were quite the thing. Prices ranged from around $165 to $185 back then. You're looking at the freshly built Hollywood sign, back when it first went up. It originally said Hollywoodland, and that marked the very start of its famous history with movies. This was way back in Los Angeles in 1923. President Lyndon B. Johnson was behind the wheel of his Amphicar on April 10, 1965. It looks like a bustling day in Piccadilly Circus. There's a hotel commissionaire chatting away with a tiny dachshund. I bet it's a funny sight. The year is 1938, and the whole scene just oozes old London charm. Hippies with long hair, maybe wearing flowing clothes and beads. It's 1969, and you can just feel the tension and the energy of the time. Dr. Wilhelm Ernst Pedersen is showing off his latest creation. It's a baby carriage, but not just any baby carriage. This one can actually climb stairs. The demonstration took place on November 26, 1956. A female mason is perched high above Berlin. It looks like it was taken around 1910. A woman is taking a drink from a water pump. It looks like she's using a shared cup right there in Chicago. This was back in 1899. There's a man standing right next to a giant redwood tree, probably somewhere in California. It must have been way back in 1909. Check out these leather friends. This photo was taken on the 16th of June, 1930. You've got G.W. Walker on number 5 and H.G. Tyndall at the Isle of Man motorcycling race. Cool stuff. Back in 1965, a photographer named Martine Frank snapped a shot. It shows a group of children climbing up a spiral staircase. They were inside the just-finished children's library over in Clamart, France. A policeman in London is giving directions. He's got a serious look on his face, probably trying to navigate a busy day. In front of him are three women, and they're quite striking. They're from Burma and have these incredibly long necks like giraffes. The year was 1935. Wow, that's quite a sight. A massive crater ripped open the road at Elephant and Castle in London. This happened on September 7th, 1940, after a nighttime bombing raid on the city. A technical security officer from the U.S. Diplomatic Security Service is emerging from a tunnel. It looks like they've just uncovered a hidden Soviet listening post, which was inside the U.S. Embassy in Moscow. This all happened back in 1978. All right, here's what's happening. Two young ladies are out for a spin. They're driving and riding in a Lawson's motor wheel. This one's from 1902, so it's a real classic. Sounds like a fun day out. In London, back in 1935, there was this really cool amphibious vehicle. The Hayden Geological Survey. It was back in 1871 in Wyoming. It's hard to pinpoint the exact moment, but this scene shows a man in a simple white robe, a turban wrapped around his head. The background seems to be a natural setting, maybe a cave or a rocky outcrop, with shadows playing across the rough terrain. The light is harsh, creating strong contrasts. This person seems to be looking directly at something, maybe addressing a group, or just deep in thought. It's an intense, focused gaze. It looks like a woman wearing a knee-length dress over pants. This was probably taken around the 1860s. It looks like a soldier's cruising on a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. This was probably around 1918 during that era. During the 1920s, there was a story about two very different people. On one end of the spectrum was the heaviest woman. Then, contrasting her was the smallest man, a truly remarkable pair from that era. It looks like Sophia Loren, maybe during a film shoot, is busy serving up some pasta. It must have been a while back, maybe back in 1960, when they were making La Chiocciara. That's a movie directed by Vittorio De Sica. The location seems to be Saracinesco, in the Lazio region of Italy. It's a really sweet moment. A person is extending their arm, hand open in a friendly gesture. Maybe they're offering a handshake, or simply saying hello. There's a genuine warmth there, a clear desire to connect. It's a perfect illustration of a welcoming gesture. The year was 1942, July to be exact. The Germans were at it again, this time collecting bells. They were taking them from Bohemia and Moravia. It was all for the war effort, of course. Those bells were destined to be melted down. Those massive stones standing tall against the sky, but maybe a bit more worn down by the passage of time. In 1862, a ship called the USS Galena shows clear signs of some serious action. Looks like it took a beating. In the streets of London, around 1926, it was a familiar sound. A knife and scissor grinder would peddle his trade, right there in the open. You could often find him, part of the everyday hustle and bustle of that time. Back in 1933, a man named A.L. Khan had quite the adventure. He managed to reel in a 5,000-pound manta ray, and it happened right off the Florida coast. General Custer and Colonel Ludlow are with a grizzly bear. This must have been taken in 1874. Let's talk about the Flatiron Building. It's in New York, of course, a 22-story skyscraper right there in Manhattan. That classic building was completed back in 1902. A construction worker, way up high on the Empire State Building. It's 1930, a time when things were being built skyward, and this guy's right there in the middle of it. There's a man, Sergeant Andrew Martin Chandler, from the 44th Mississippi Regiment. Standing with him is Silas Chandler, his servant. Silas was one of 36 slaves owned by the soldier's mother. The scene is from around 1861. Back in 1922, things looked a whole lot different. You had these two winners, crowned for their beauty. It's wild to think about how much the idea of what's beautiful has changed over the years. It was back in New York in Central Park. The year was 1933. It was 1940, and families were living in their cars in Sacramento, California. Budapest in 1963, from the Budapest Municipal Archives. It was 1901. You can imagine it. The sun was high, and there she was, Calamity Jane. On the Eastern Front during World War II, a German soldier is making a political statement. Here's a story of a man. We're talking about Abraham Lincoln. He lived through the Civil War from 1861 to 1865. It was a defining period for him and for the entire nation. A group of engineers carefully inspecting a model of a supersonic aircraft. They're doing a final check before a test run. The setting is a special test section, a 10 by 10 foot supersonic wind tunnel. This all took place back in 1957. It's 1955, and there's this guy, Piet van der Zwart. Apparently they called him the fattest man in Europe back then. He weighed in at 455 pounds. The story takes us back to 1900, to the Royal London Hospital. Imagine an X-ray technician, someone working with a new and exciting technology. A hand belonging to this technician reveals a stark truth. The damage from years of radiation exposure is now visible, a reminder of the unseen dangers of the work. This is a rare one. It's a photograph of Marilyn Monroe, and she's completely natural, without a stitch of makeup. It was taken way back in 1955. Construction of the Flatiron Building was underway in New York City. This picture was taken in 1902. It's around 1960. There's a place called Hairdresser's Hot Dog.